What up, watch peeps? Let's take another look at my Sinn U50-T now that I've had it for a little bit. Talk about some of the things that stand out after wearing it, maybe some of my initial impressions that might have changed over time. I've had a 556 and a 104 in the past, but this watch is such a different beast, it's really hard to compare it to those two, other than to say all three watches are pretty awesome. Alright, let's get into it. I'm Pete, and we are Chillin' with Watches. First things first, wrist check. I'm wearing the Lume 52 again. You guys probably seen me wear this a few times. Just such an easy watch to wear. It's quartz, so you just pick it up, throw it on. Sapphire, I don't have to worry about it too much. And I'm a sucker for gilt, so there you have it. Alright, the Sinn U50-T. Let's reopen the box here. You guys, I think I've shown you all the stuff that came in it before. You do get tools for sizing the bracelet, or they use little hex bolts as opposed to standard screws. So they give you the Allen wrenches to go with it. But I mean, here, this is a good chance to take a look at how smooth and rounded these links are, and I think that plays a big part in its comfort. So you also have the books, just the booklet, the warranty card. You guys seen that stuff before. The box, we have the watch. Just a fantastically proportioned watch. This tool here is for, I think it's just for the spring bars. It fits in the lug holes, the drilled lugs. So one of the first things I noticed about this watch, one of the real impressions it made on me is, where's the crystal? Look at how it just disappears. Sinn is one of the only companies I know that uses both inner and outer AR coating on their crystals, and I didn't know how much of a difference that would make, but man, it is a huge difference. Looking at this watch compared to some of my others that have really good AR coating, the crystal's just gone on this one. You can see right through into those hands. Now, I know some people have mentioned about the paint being uneven on some of these. I guess, you know, looking under macro, but I don't see any such issues on mine. Everything looks real straight and crisp. But the feel of this watch, it's just very smooth. It has a soft feeling. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but it feels soft. I don't know if that's a result of the matte finish or the tegimenting process. Now, tegimenting, I'm still not 100% clear on exactly what it is, but it's not a coating. It is a change to the surface of the material itself. So it actually hardens the material, the outer layer of the material the watch is actually made of, making it more resistant to scratches. But yeah, the resulting matte finish that they have on here is just very comfortable, feels great against your skin. So I don't know if this matte finish or this bead blasted like finish is a requirement or a result of tegimenting, or if you can still have tegimented steel and have different finishes on it. Could it be polished or brushed? I'm not sure. But I think it's a good choice for this watch either way. It really works with the tool watch nature. It just all lends to the look of this watch. And I think you take this look and you add in the compact size and the proportions, it all works really well together. It's able to maintain its smaller size, not being too large, plenty thin, but still great presence due to the pop of color you find in the hands and the dial. Now, it's a 60 click bezel, and it feels like a ball bearing mechanism in there. I'm pretty sure that's what they use. There's a slight bounce back as you go through each click. But once you settle in, there's really no play in the bezel whatsoever. There's no wobble to it. It really sets in nice. And one of the things I noticed at first is this red in the bezel. It's very subtle, and it's something I noticed over time of wearing it. But it's really great in that it brings out the red in the hands and the dial. It all works together. It's just a very cohesive, really cool look. Now I know I've talked about this crown before, about it being maybe too small. I don't know if I'm spoiled by big, giant, oversized crowns and I've just really grown used to that. I don't know if it's because if you look, it's not actually at 4 o'clock. It's a little past 4 o'clock, and I think that maybe puts it a little too close to this lug, which makes it kind of a little difficult to get a grip on there with the size of the crown. But it does catch quite easy, and you don't even have to back thread it to drop it in. It just grabs when you go in. It's all very smooth every time. Now the H-Link bracelet, each individual link or piece in there, you'll see it's very smooth. They're almost rounded if you look in there. There's no sharp edges. It's all very smooth, especially the part that comes in contact with your skin under here. You combine that matte finish with the rounded edges and it's just all very comfortable. These articulated links, they're gonna lay right on your wrist no matter what shape. Now one of the other things that my opinion changed on was the clasp. It was something I wasn't super impressed with it the first time I saw it. I thought, oh, this is kind of, there's no buttons to release. I thought it's not a lot for the price and stature of this watch. Expect something a little more robust, but over time this clasp has really grown on me. If you look how thin it is, it's no wider than the bracelet. It's no thicker, barely thicker than the bracelet. It's just very unobtrusive, and it's just not in your way. Now this fold over, it's very secure. You're not going to pop that off by accident. It really takes a little work to dig your finger under there. The scissor mechanism, it's not too hard to open, but again, I never felt insecure with it. You see how it works. You'll see this little nub on the outsides of these scissors here. Those will catch in this groove that you'll see on the inside part of the fold over there, and that snaps together there. And then the fold over. So, for what it is, I think it's really well done. It's minimalistic, but it's well done, and I don't feel at risk of it accidentally coming undone or being not secure. So the case profile, you'll see there's very little turn down on the lugs. It's a very thin case due to that Sellita SW300 movement. There's like no belly on the case back. And it's a very smooth case back. Like everything in this watch. Very soft, very smooth edges. Drilled lugs. Now the crown grip, it has these oversized grooves. So despite it maybe being slightly undersized for my taste, at least the grip on it is fantastic. It's not like the bezel grip as well. It's also very different. You have these, very different than what you see on a Sub or a Seiko. It's these deep little cutouts, but real easy to grip. Overall, I'd say this is a fantastic watch. It really grows on you. It disappears on the wrist when you're not looking at it, but has tons of wrist presence when you are looking down at it. So let's take a look at how it's running on the time grapher. So you can see here it's settled in at about +4, +5, and real healthy amplitude, very minimal beat error, and a real clean trace if you notice. What I mean by that is the line, the dots are very close together, they're not all over the place. But yeah, I think it's running really good. I'm imagining as this winds down, it's fully wound here, as it winds down, it probably will also slow down, which will bring your overall performance probably closer to 0. Let's go over the specs real quick to be thorough. Now the bezel comes in at 41 millimeters, and that is the size they list this watch at, but when I measured the actual case, that was 40 millimeters underneath. The thickness comes in at 11 millimeters with a lug width of 20 millimeters and a lug to lug of 47 millimeters. And I weighed it, it came in at 155 grams on the bracelet, sized for my 7¼ inch wrist. Now going over some of the other specs, it has a whopping 500 meters of water resistance, I mentioned it has a Sellita SW300 movement in here, sapphire crystal, 60 click bezel, and uses Super Luminova, which we will take a look at here in a minute. So here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist, and you can see it just wears fantastic, extremely comfortable, great size. It's very comfortable on the wrist, but it still has plenty of wrist presence. So let's take a look at it side by side some other watches. Here it is with the Woolbrook. This is a 39mm diver. So slightly smaller case than the Sinn, but the larger dial I think makes it wear a little larger, or at least appear a little larger, but these wear very similarly in that they're both very thin, about the same size. Here it is next to the Helson Shark Diver in 40mm. Now these watches are similar in that they both have 40mm cases and slightly larger, like 41mm bezels. The Helson is obviously thicker and it will stand out and be a little more chunky on your wrist. But as far as top-down view, very, very similar. Lastly, we'll take a look with the SKX, because everybody is familiar with the dimensions of this watch. And the Seiko SKX is a couple millimeters larger, but it has a smaller dial. And I think being all black, meaning the insert, kind of gives it a little bit smaller of an appearance, where the Sinn has a little more presence. But the Sinn is much more comfortable on the wrist and much smaller on wrist. All right, let's take a look at the Lume.
Peep the Lume.
Best I can tell, it is just Swiss Super Luminova. It is not C3 or anything like that, but it is very generously applied, very bright on the hands, and the Lume pip. Let's see if I can get my finger over there. Yeah, it's just real crisp. It lasts plenty long, very bright. The Lume on this is fantastic. Look at the seconds hand. Super cool. Alright, so here you can see how it wears on my 7¼ inch wrist, and I think you can see what I mean, how it's very comfortable and conforming, but still has plenty of wrist presence and that pop of color, the red that just stands out even from distance. Alright, so I've been trying to come up with some different bits to do at the end of these reviews just to keep it interesting, and I've come up with something new called the burn barrel. You know, barrel is in the power source for mechanical watches, and burn is in roasted. Think of it as a live action meme. Alright, well, if I make fun of your watch or your brand, please don't get butthurt. This is all just in good fun, a way for me to express my childish sense of humor. In fact, it's an honor. Yes, you should be honored. Alright, so this is so stupid, I can't even keep a straight face. Alright, to kick off the first burn barrel, I have noticed a recent trend in the inspiration for micro brand watches. From this to this, or this to this. Alright, I'm going to leave you with that. I am out. If it's not too much trouble, like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace.